No, please bring it back. Please bring the colors back.
The colors are all gone. The colors are all gone. Oh.
Yeah. Whew. Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. What are you doing in my... Oh, it's not important. I had the strangest dream. All the colors in the world were gone. Everything was just black and white values. I was there. But it wasn't me, it was a different form, a future form. Oh, man. You really take color for granted when you don't have it. I think it's time. I think it's time I teach you about color. Where to begin? I guess if we're gonna start somewhere, we should really start where all the magic happens. You know, the oculus, ojos, peepers, windows to the soul. That's right, eyes. You see, it's these babies that allow us to perceive color. It's truly an incredible feat. Our eyes are actually high-tech energy receptors. They take in electromagnetic radiation from the visible light spectrum. Now, you may remember the visible light spectrum from early science class, where you learned the mnemonic Roy G. Biv, or red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Now, these colors are simply just names that we've given to specific points on the visible spectrum. Our eyes receive this information where it is then decoded by small little receptors called rods and cones. And before you interrupt me, Pop Culture Paul, not that kind of rod, not that kind of rod. We don't even talk about that one. The rods in our eyes are responsible for decoding value, whereas the job of the cones is to differentiate colors. Each cone can only detect one region of the visible spectrum. This information is then sent and translated by our brain as the perception of color. Color mixing can be achieved through two processes, additive and subtractive. The additive process is what occurs when colored light is mixed. This is what you experience on a computer or TV screen. The subtractive process is what takes place when light hits an object and is either absorbed, refracted, or both. This is the color process we'll be using when mixing paint. Let's get started, shall we? You can brush the blues away by painting with Paul Kenneth today. When it comes to subtractive color mixing, there are two main color wheels that are used, the RYB color wheel and the CMY color wheel. I am a proponent of combining both of these color wheels into one for my painting practice, but for simplicity's sake, I'll just be showing you the first one. We're going to be using 4 of our different paint colors today: Alizarin Crimson, Cadmium Red Medium, Ultramarine Blue, and Cadmium Yellow Light. I'm using a quarter sheet of paper here with a circle that I drew out to start with 12 points, just like a clock, and at the 12 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and 4 o'clock position are where we are going to situate our primary colors. At the topmost point we have yellow, followed by blue, and red. The colors located opposite from each one of our primary colors are called our secondary colors, which are green, orange, and violet. The colors located in between our primary and secondary colors are called tertiary colors, and they are blue-violet, blue-green, yellow-green, yellow-orange, red-orange, and red-violet. And by the time we are done today, you are going to have the ability to paint a supreme double rainbow
all the way across the sky.
We're going to start out at the top of our color wheel with yellow, taking our cadmium yellow light and putting a small daub down. Now you'll notice if I spread this out so you can see its translucency, the cadmium yellow light typically always leans a little bit green, so it's more towards the yellow-green spectrum than the middle yellow. So it's going to be probably just to the right of our yellow. To get it to be right where we want it, we need to bring it a little bit more yellow-orange. And to do that, we're going to just add the very smallest drop of our cadmium red medium. And as I mix that in, it's going to bring our yellow ever so slightly counterclockwise on the color wheel so that that slightly yellow-green cadmium yellow light now is a perfect primary yellow. Put down a little bit with either your paintbrush, or if that's too thin, you can just use a scoop from the back of your palette knife. So we're done with our yellow, but we're going to be using it later, so just scoop it up into a little pile and set it aside. So the next primary color we need to put down is our blue, which we're going to be using our ultramarine blue. And this is already a perfect primary blue, so we can squirt a little bit down right onto the color wheel and then just spread it out with our palette knife. So the last primary color we have left is our red. Now we have two different reds. Our Alizarin Crimson is going to sit just a little bit to red-violet, and our cadmium red medium is going to sit just a little bit to red-orange. But by mixing the two together, we will have a perfect primary red. So after you mix together equal parts of your reds, you are ready to slap them down on the paper. And now that we have both our primary red already mixed and our primary yellow already mixed, we can go ahead and do our first secondary color, which will be orange. Just mix about equal parts of the primary yellow with the primary red, and we will get to a nice orange. Now if you're sensing it's leaning too red-orange, just add a little bit more yellow. If it's leaning a little bit too yellow-orange, just add a little bit more red. The next color we're going to mix is green, so put down your cadmium yellow light and your ultramarine blue. And since our cadmium yellow light already leans a bit green, we do not need to make the normal primary yellow. We can just use a little bit less of the ultramarine blue when mixing in with the yellow until you find that nice middle ground green. Start with less blue at first. If it's too light, add in a little bit more blue until it's about halfway between the yellow and blue value. Now we can move on to the violet. Put down a little bit of ultramarine blue and a little bit of your Alizarin Crimson. And since the Alizarin Crimson already leans a bit violet, just add a little bit less blue compared to crimson. Our secondary colors are now complete, so we can start working on our tertiary colors. Since I have violet already mixed up, I'm going to do a little bit of ultramarine blue mixed in with the violet to get our blue-violet. And same process with the red-violet. Just add a little bit of Alizarin Crimson into your violet. Mix that together till you find a nice middle ground. And moving on to our blue-green and yellow-green. Start by making a green. Just put down your cadmium yellow light and ultramarine blue. Mix those two together till you get to your same green as before. And then for the blue-green, you're just going to add a little bit more blue. And for the yellow-green, you're going to add a little bit more yellow. Next up is going to be our red, orange, and yellow, orange tertiary colors. So for this, all you'll need is your cadmium red medium and your cadmium yellow light. And since the cadmium red medium already sits a little bit red-orange, you'll only need just a touch of yellow. And for the yellow-orange, just add a little bit more yellow until you're halfway between your orange and yellow. And that's it. Now that our color wheel is complete, we can find our complementary colors. A color's complement is located directly across from it on the color wheel. So blue's complement is orange, blue-green, red-orange, red-green, yellow-violet, etc. Now, the reason it's important to know the complementary colors is because anytime you want to desaturate a color, you simply mix in a little bit of the color's complement. So here I'm creating just a slight saturation scale using red and green. And as I add in a little bit of the green to the red, it starts to become slightly less vibrant or saturated. Sometimes people will use the term graying out a color. This is not a great use of vocabulary because it makes you think that you're going to mix gray in to get the desaturated color, when in fact you're simply mixing in the color's complement. Alright, the next cool thing I want to show you is how to make your very own black. This is going to be a natural black using ultramarine blue and burnt umber. Here I'm putting down just a little bit of the ivory black to be able to compare the two. The nice thing about making your own black is that you're able to adjust how cool or warm the black is. A lot of times the eye can't quite tell, but it gives a slight difference in the feeling of the painting. Anytime you add black to a color, it is called shading, and anytime you add white to a color, it is called tinting. Before I send you off to paint your very own color wheels, I want to show you one final little thing. Anytime you want to make green real quick, just add black to yellow. This is going to give you more of like a army green. It's great for anytime you're doing like foliage. It's just another way to make a color. So, without further ado, get to it and have fun doing it.
How can we think about anything but color on such a beautiful day?